Hey guys, Alphamon here for another deck profile, and as you can see, we are looking at Alphamon again. This is my updated deck list for the later half of BT13, heading into RB01, which is Rising Wind, which doesn't really change much for this deck because mainly it's just switching out alt arts for the memory boost. But aside from that, the deck basically remains relatively the same, except for the overhaul of the deck that I've done, specifically in the fact that we are running less Tamers, we are running more option cards now, and we are including another different level 7 to help kind of curb the spread of swarming decks, specifically like Bloomlord and I don't know, just mainly Bloomlord, honestly, because it's just one of the most annoying decks to deal with. And of course, Shine Greymon, which also does still kind of exist in the meta, of course, but not in my meta, surprisingly, not as much. But yeah, let's get into the deck profile so you can see the changes we've done. So, of course, this being a Alphamon deck, we of course run the Dorimons because when we equip something, we want to get that extra draw, and running 4 helps us consistently see this. There is a new Dorimon egg thanks to BT13, but I mean, it's okay, but I feel like this is a little bit more solid because getting that extra draw can potentially help you get that, or you can play basically, which you really want to be going into specifically with this deck. So I feel this egg is a little bit more solid at 4 rather than just splitting it between the new one and the old one. But yeah, for rookies, we run exactly, I believe we're running about 10. So we are running, of course, the original Dorumon from BT7 because, of course, it helps us search the top 3. We don't really use it for the Tamer search anymore because, honestly, Kota's okay, but I feel the Tamer that we do specifically run now actually is a little bit better. And of course, the fact that it's inherent allows you to gain 1 memory when equipping something underneath, which helps both Alphamon and Machine Dramon, which are two of my two of my most favorite Digimon. So yeah, really cool running 4 of this. Gotta do it. Then we run 4 Ryudamon because, of course, it's another searcher. We don't really use it for the inherent. I've only maybe once used the decoy ability, but aside from that, it's mainly just as a searcher. And yeah, then we run my bad. We actually do run 12. We run 2 of the new Doromon because it gives that extra plus 1,000. It's pretty solid, evolving for 0. Then we run 2 of the new Doru security promo, which is actually pretty good because surprisingly, we can actually um, grab certain things in this deck, especially the rookies and some of the lower level 4s. But aside from that, we just use it as a way to, just have something maybe happen in security, but it's also just a rookie to evolve onto, and it's an X antibody that we can search, so pretty decent. But yeah, we run 12 exactly because that way we consistently see them as often as possible, and that way we don't brick into other stuff that we don't want to see. For level 4s or adults slash champion levels, we run for Darugamon, still really solid. The fact that it gains blocker and it gives a plus 1,000 is still really solid. Then we run 2 of the new one because it just by default gives 1,000, so pretty decent. Then for the last level 4, we run 4 Dex Doru because this guy is still busted beyond belief. The fact that you get to gain 1 extra memory and give it blocker and retaliation, meaning if they were to swing into or you basically force them to have to take that hit, which is really cool. And yeah, that's basically all it is for the level 4s. We run exactly 10. I usually like to run 10 because that way it's just the perfect ratio for you to see them consistently. And yep. Then we, of course, run the 4 Doru Greymons from the new BT13 because, of course, it helps us search. It gives us protection from DP reduction, which really hurts Shine Greymon. And its end of turn effect is actually really broken because I've been able to gain back memory to go back to 0 thanks to its effect. And the cool thing is that if you have 2 underneath, they do stack, so they both activate at the exact same time. So you basically get to equip 2 cards from your hand underneath, which will trigger effects. So pretty cool. Then we run, of course, 1 of the original Doru Gray because it protects us from almost everything and gives us security plus 1, so you gotta run at least the 1 copy. Then 1 Dex Doru because kind of weird is that every time I've ever played this at higher than 2, or even one. I've bricked into this card so many times, and I feel that's kind of a weird thing with this deck. I feel it's better to just see the Doru Gray rather than just the Dex Doru. Dex Doru is just there to kind of like remove blockers and just level 4s in general, but I feel like it's better to just run one and to just go with these two instead. And then for the last level 5, we do run one Greymon. Greymon's actually pretty good because end of attack, you get to just delete something with a play cost of 5 or less. So it's kind of like a Metal Mamemon, but like specifically for Alpha and end of attack. So pretty cool. And of course, it searches the top 3 cards of your deck. So you have another searcher just in case to grab Alpha and then equipping something which will trigger your effects. So I like to run at least one copy because sometimes this does actually come up when you don't have the right source. So you can use it to kind of equip stuff that you need. Same with like the Dora Gray, they both kind of like search the top 3 and equip. So that's really important sometimes. Aside from that, we only run the 7 level 5s. For level 6s, we of course run 3 of the new Alphamon because he is still really powerful. The fact that he can just make it so 10 cost or higher can't attack, combined also with the fact that he can protect himself once per turn, which is really powerful, because that was honestly one of the few things that was killing Alpha almost every time, was because the opponent had a way to delete it or, remove it from the field. The only thing that can honestly hurt it would be de-digivolving. Aside from that, it's basically able to protect itself from almost everything except for that, so pretty solid, honestly. But yeah, we run 3 copies. Then we run 1 of the Alpha from BT9 because this helps us de-digivolve stuff and make things weaker for us to basically kill. And of course, it lets us equip something from trash, so that's also really useful. Then we run, of course, the standard 3 Orumons because this helps us basically swing for the extra check. You do occasionally use its when digivolving when you don't see the other Alphamons, and it is actually pretty solid to work off of because you can actually equip a Alphamon from trash using a different effect, mainly the Door of Grace. So you basically can set that up to basically go into Oryuken and kind of swing the next turn. And once he digivolves, he actually does gain immunity from basically being deleted, so that's actually pretty solid too because it does help with protection. Aside from that, it's pretty decent, but mainly you are using it for its end of turn inherit for or you can. But yeah, that's all level 6s we run. We run exactly 7, which means we will consistently see them as well. And yeah, that's basically all of it for now. For level 7s, we of course run the 2 Oryukens. He's kind of self-explanatory. He deletes something, he gains you back memory, and of course he helps you basically go for a game. In combination with this, you're basically swinging for like basically 2 checks at least, and even worse if you manage to pass turn with that as well and give it reboot somehow. So pretty cool. Really solid. Got to have at least 2. I know a lot of builds run 3, but for me 2 is the most solid because I see it consistently, but not enough to brick me. Then when I run 1 Def X, because as I mentioned, Swarm decks will be coming back soon, so having the 1 Def X will actually help you mitigate that a bit. And of course, the fact that if your opponent overextends, you get to just punish them for it, so really cool to run at least 1. And yeah, that's basically all the Digimon for the deck. The rest are actually options and the 1 Tamer that we run. So let's get into that. We, of course, are running... the glare. 3 Black Memory Boosts because we do not have the Black Training card yet. So we basically use it as a way to just search our deck a bit more. And then, of course, giving us extra memory, which can help us set up much faster. Then we run 2 Congos to basically mitigate Shine Greymon still, because that way they can't do anything, and you can basically swing before they can do anything. And then we run 1 Final Zubagon Punch because it gives reboot and blocker and security attack +1, so potentially you can boost this to get the extra security check rather than getting it off of the Door of Gray. And of course the fact that it gives reboot and blocker, and the fact that it will boost him to like maybe 19,000 along with the other boosts, so he'll be going for really high. So the only thing that can honestly remove him would be like Chaos Degrade and some other stuff. And then 1 X Antibody because we do want to occasionally swing and digivolve into stuff, but it doesn't honestly come up as often, so I don't think it's really a requirement anymore to run this card, because normally you're just going to be evolving anyway and just passing back the turn to yourself, so you don't absolutely need this as much anymore. So running just 1 copy just for like that emergency thing, it works. But yeah, that's all the option cards we run. For Tamer, we only run one, surprisingly, compared to the old builds where you had to run Yuji and Kota. I have opted to now run 4 Cool Boys because I've been seeing a lot of future decks, especially in EX5, of Alphamon. Surprisingly, it's still around, which is weird, right? But the fact that a lot of players have just opted to just completely remove Kota and Yuji means that there's something to it. And I noticed that they're basically maxing out on Cool Boy because if you get all your Cool Boys out, you're basically gaining memory back. You're also gaining a draw, and the fact that it's just a 2 cost Tamer makes it super cheap, and potentially it can pass your opponent to just 1 memory, which hurts them immensely because memory choking is still a very important aspect to Digimon because it specifically makes it so that your opponent has to pass it back to you and can do less, which can help you kind of basically win the game faster before they can set up. And surprisingly, Cool Boy is really useful for that because you not only gain the memory, but as I mentioned, you also get the draw too. So potentially you can draw into the specific card that you needed to win the game. And having 4 of it means if you have all 4 out, you're basically getting 4 memory and you're drawing 4 cards, which can potentially net you the game. So the main thing with Alpha, as it has always been since BT9, is to build your stack, build it as big as possible, and then just swing as hard as possible before they can basically do anything. And with this deck, you should be able to do it by turn 3 or 4, surprisingly, even though the deck did take a hit before with Dora Gray going to 1. You can do the same exact thing now thanks to the new support. So yeah, aside from that, this is just an update to the deck. I wanted to kind of change it up because the deck has been kind of like stagnating a bit. I noticed like it hasn't been topping as much, so I wanted to kind of like put this deck profile out so you guys can kind of like maybe see if you wanted to update your deck a little bit to maybe adapt to the format, because right now I've only seen maybe like 1 Alphamon like every 2 or 3 regionals topping. So I kind of want to see this deck topping again because it is one of my all-time favorite decks aside from Machine Dramon. So I want it to succeed and do well, especially even at the local level. I want it to do well. Aside from that, that's basically it. As I mentioned before, these decks are usually rough templates that you can use to kind of make your build and modify however you want. Aside from that, as usual, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you thought of the deck, and I'll see you guys next time.